So what we're going to do is essentially teach you guys the keys to success with manual muscle testing. We actually just did an interview, and this is something that we focused on with the interview. We wanted to make sure that we shared some of the information with you guys. So here we go. So the first thing, we learned in school that manual muscle testing essentially is a test of weakness, which I don't really understand because weakness is the opposite of strength, but whatever. But really what that means is when you're actually doing a manual muscle test, so we're just going to use the deltoid as just our simple example here. Here's why this is not a test of strength. If Andrew is stronger than I am, when I apply pressure, if I cannot win, then I can only assess whether he's weak or he's not weak, but I can't assess how strong he is. So in the deltoid, I can always win because I've got this long lever, and unless I'm muscle testing like this enormous bodybuilder, I could probably break him here. But in the quad, go ahead and drop that, extend that leg out. Let's see if you guys can see this, sort of. So if I'm assessing the quad, he may have enough quad strength that I cannot break his position at all. In which case, I can't really test him for strength because I cannot ever break his position. So you are testing for strength if you can break the position, but you are testing for weakness at all points in time, right? Does that make sense? So I can't tell how strong you are if I can't break your position because I don't know how much harder I have to push to get you to actually move. Okay, so that's number one. We're testing for strength, we're testing for weakness. It's basically the same thing unless you can't move the person. More importantly, though, than any of that, you're really testing for activation. So the number one thing that you are looking for when you do this is that when this arm is out like this, I am looking for what is referred to as a neural lock. What that is actually in like you guys remember from physiology, it's tetany. You're looking for muscle tetany. Can he fire as many motor units as necessary to get this thing to lock when I apply down pressure? So let's go ahead and do this muscle test for a second. So hold here, hold against my down pressure, and that shoulder locks really, really well. That shoulder has a problem. So when I come over here with Andrew, and I'm not going to break his position because I don't want to hurt him, but if I apply down pressure here, you guys might be able to see this. Just watch the tip of his fist when I put pressure down here. Hold. Ready? Go ahead and hold as strong as you can, yeah? Can you guys see that arm kind of waver a little bit and drop down? I know it's kind of hard to see, but look on this side. Again, down pressure. Notice that fist is unwavering. It literally does not move. But over on this side, if I apply some down pressure, see how that arm does that? That is not a neural lock. So he's unable to lock on that left side. He can lock on the right side. So weakness versus strength, and this idea that we're trying to figure out the neural lock. Can we actually get that muscle to actually lock in with tetany? Or does it feel like a slipping transmission like in a car? Okay. 2, when you're actually performing a muscle test, you always want to perform it with eye contact. We learn in school that when we're performing some shoulder tests, we should do it in prone, right? So go ahead and lay on your tummy for a sec. Head over there. So a lower trap test might be done in this position. The rhomboid test might be done in this position. Go ahead and sit back up, Andrew. The problem with those two test positions is that I cannot see his face. So if I'm doing something that's at all provocatory for him, the moment I create that pain, he is going to make a facial expression, a micro expression, before he actually says, ouch. And what you want to do is you always want to have eye-to-eye contact or eye-to-face contact with your patient when you apply a muscle test, because what you're looking for are those micro expressions like this. They go like this, like that little like sign of like something hurts. But they'll do that before they actually groan or grunt. So if I'm testing him, what I want to do is I want to get him in the test position, and then I want to make eye contact before I apply pressure. Don't look here. Look here. Okay, hold against my pressure. Mm-hmm. And notice I am looking at him, eye contact, so crucial because you want to actually see that micro expression before he actually says, ouch. Okay, number 3, let's go on to position. Now, we learn in school that we want to test a muscle in its shortened position, Funny enough, a lot of the muscle test positions we learn like this for the deltoid isn't actually the shortened position of the deltoid. Where's the shortened position of the deltoid? It's up here. It's overhead, right? This is where the deltoid is actually short. So for the most part, we want to actually test in a shorter position. It doesn't have to be the shortest position. And the reason is because in a shortened position, the sarcomeres are more overlapped and the muscle is less strong. Therefore, we are more likely to pick up weakness than if we test it in mid-range. Okay, I hope that makes sense. But you don't always test in a shortened position. Sometimes if you're using the muscle test for provocation, you are actually going to perform the muscle test in a lengthened position. Why? Because in a lengthened position, the muscle test is going to produce more strain on the tendon than in a neutral or short position. So, for example, go ahead and lay on your side, head over there. If I'm assessing Andrew's gluteus medius, I can do a clamshell test. Now, the beauty of the clamshell test is that we know that it preferentially recruits the gluteus medius over the TFL, so I'll put him in this position, and I'll apply down pressure. So what happens is in this position, I'm going to get really good recruitment of the gluteus medius as I press down. Here's the problem. It's not very provocatory. So if I'm suspicious for a gluteus medius tendinosis, I actually want to test this thing in a lengthened position. So lay on your back. And the way that you do that is go ahead and bend this knee up, cross that over. Now, I don't know if you guys can see that. Now his right gluteus medius is in a lengthened position. Now when I apply the muscle test, which I'm going to do like this, I'm going to brace here, and go ahead, Andrew, pull your right leg to your right. As he does that, that muscle is now contracting while the tendon is on length, which means more of the stress is going into the tendon. So I'm more likely to pick up a tendon tear or tendon injury if I test the tissue in a stretched position than in a shortened or a neutral position. So, coming up. So if we are looking to test for weakness / strength or activation, we're going to test in the neutral or shortened position. But if we're testing for provocation, we're going to test in the lengthened position, which will actually give us more stress into the tendon and better sensitivity on our tests. Next one is line of pressure. Line of pressure is the direction that I'm pushing, and then the application is how I'm going to use my hand. You learn in school, and a lot of therapists I see do this, is they'll apply the pressure like this with the knife edge of the hand. I don't understand this. This is actually rather idiotic. If you put your hand like this and you apply pressure, and he resists up and out, that pressure is going right into my carpal metacarpal joint, which is no good. We don't want to stress this joint. This is where therapists get osteoarthritis in their hands later on in their career. So what you want to do is you actually want to use the complete flat of your palm, like this, and you want to get your body as close to your patient as you possibly can, all right? So you're going to use the flat of the palm, not the knife edge. Okay, the next thing about the actual pressure is you actually do not want to apply pressure with my arm. I never want to be using my arm versus his arm. The reason is the moment I contract my muscles to push him, I lose sensitivity in myself and how hard he can push. So rather than push with my arm versus his arm, I want to get myself in position so that I am going to move my body to apply the pressure, but the contraction in my arm is isometric. Did you get that? The contraction in my arm is isometric, not isotonic. So this is what you don't want to do. You don't want to do this. Hold against my pressure. Notice I'm pushing down with my arm. Instead, what you want to do is adjust your table height, and if they're a tall person, have them sit down, so that I can apply pressure like this. Hold against my pressure. Now watch this. I'm just going to bend my knees. So what happens is, by bending my knees and lowering my body, rather than pushing with my arm, this arm's isometric, so I actually feel a lot more sensitive in the pressure that he's giving me because my contraction's not variable. My contraction in my arm is consistent. All right, test pressure. So when I'm going to start to apply the pressure, I see a lot of PTs, and actually we learn this in school, is that we apply the pressure like this. We go hold, okay, hold against my resistance, and we push through. The problem is, if you are dealing with somebody who actually has a real injury in their shoulder, this can be extremely aggravating. And in fact, if we do that same test over here and we push through on Andrew, he's going to get a clunk and he's going to get an awful lot of pain. No good. What you want to do is you want to apply your muscle test in little tiny stages, little increments. So it looks like this. Andrew, hold against my down pressure. That's a little bit of pressure. And then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to apply a little more pressure. And after I do that first test pressure, I'm going to ask the quintessential question. Most physios ask like this. Okay, hold. Okay, how'd that feel?
Not bad.
Okay. Terrible question. If you ask a teenage boy, how was school, what do they say? Good. If somebody asks you on the street, how you doing, what do you say? Good. You don't really get any information when you say how. What you want to say is what. Let's try it again. Okay. Hold against my down pressure. Okay, Andrew, what do you feel when I push down?
A little pressure and a little bit going down the arm here.
Okay. So you see, I get a little bit more information. I say, what do you feel? He feels something that's kind of odd. I might ask a follow-up question like, tell me more about that, or describe the sensation. Then you can say any pain, right? So it's here, hold against my down pressure. Okay, what do you feel? He tells me, and if he says, well, I don't feel anything, I'll say, okay, any pain?
No pain.
And if he says yes, I'm going to say, is that your pain? Is that the pain that you're complaining about? So make sure to apply test pressure first. And when you apply your test pressure, making eye contact to make sure that he doesn't wince. If I get no wince and everything's fine, then I'm going to go ahead and break his position. And when I do, I'm not going to break it all the way down to his leg. That kind of pressure is totally unnecessary. I am just going to break his position. That's it. I'm not going to push all the way through. I'm not going to make him feel weak. I'm just watching his arm. When that arm starts to move out of this position, and I can feel that I have now applied more force by just a tiny little bit than he can resist, that's it. So it looks like this. Hold against my resistance, test pressure. What do you feel?
Just a little bit of pressure. Nothing, no pain, no anything.
Okay, I'm going to go a little more, yeah? And the moment I start to break his position, the test is over. That's it. I have achieved more force than he can handle. I don't need to push any harder than that. Okay, let's go on to the next secret here, and this is really important. The other hand, what are you doing with it? Again, you learn in school the most important thing to do with this hand is to stabilize him. But the reality is I don't need to stabilize my patient on 90% of my muscle tests. So for example, with the deltoid one, when I push down here, if his feet are on the floor and I start to push, he's not going anywhere. Instead, what you want to do with the other hand is you actually want to palpate. So I'm going to place the hand over the joint that I'm treating, over the joint that I'm testing, with the intention of palpating for crepitus, clunking, or cavitation. You got that? Crepitus, clunking, or cavitation. Crepitus is joint noise. Clunking is something shifting, like if he subluxes. And cavitation is going to be that he pops or clicks. So I put my hand here, hold against my down pressure, and what I want to do is I want to use my other hand like a sensor. All 5 fingers spread out, total contact, everything is nice and soft against his skin. So this is my hand that's palpating, and when I apply that pressure, I want to use this hand to feel for any clunks or clicks. And what that's going to give me an indication of is when he contracts, if we get any clunking or clicking, we might have instability, or in an older patient, we might have some osteoarthritis in that shoulder. So hope this video was helpful. There's a lot more stuff that we need to talk about with manual muscle testing, but I've only got a few minutes. I got my patient waiting for me downstairs. So peace. We'll see you guys next time. If you have any questions about anything that was in this video, just leave us a note. And if you're watching this outside of the PHYSIOSecrets group, make sure to head over to the PHYSIOSecrets Facebook group and join us up where you'll get early access to this content and more live videos. So see you guys next time.